January 1st, 1994. Thought this would be a good time to begin a tape for you. It's a snowy Saturday, and we've been pretty much home all week. It snowed Christmas night, and last Sunday, the 2nd, I guess it was the 26th of December, the day after Christmas, church was canceled because all the roads were icy. We really didn't have that much snow, and I think by the time it was our turn for church at 11:30, we probably could have gone, except that other areas of the county were very bad with ice. And the parking lots and the sidewalks of the church had not been plowed. There was lots of ice around, but it was hard to miss church the day after Christmas. We enjoyed being together as a family, but it's still not the same as going to church. We had snow again several times during the week. Actually, it snowed 2 or 3 days, a total of maybe 4 inches at the most, but it's been cold, so the snow hasn't melted. Along the edges of the road, it's still very icy, and it's easy to get stuck if you don't have a cleared place in which to park. This evening, we were invited over to the Curls' home. Brother Ed Curl has a lot of old trains, and at Christmas time, periodically, he sets up the trains. He had a room in the basement that was almost totally filled with this train set. Lots of track going different directions. He must have had a dozen different model trains, and he would have 4 or 5 of them running on the track set at the same time. Stephen had the chance to operate it. He became very enthused about trains and wondering where your dad's trains have gone to. Your dad told him that when he was growing up, he had a Lionel train, all of his own. I think your dad had a train, and then Dwayne and Don each had trains and their own tracks, and they combined them, put them together on a big piece of plywood in the basement at Grandma's house. Your dad thinks it was set up when he left to go on his mission, and that probably Dwayne took the train since he lived close by there in Clearfield, and that his sons probably had them when they were growing up. I know as Christmases came around through the years, your dad several times thought of buying a train for you, but to me it always seemed like an awful lot of money, and I didn't think that you would get that much fun out of it. I guess your dad is the one that would have enjoyed it and had a lot of fun playing with the trains. I took down the Christmas tree the day before yesterday and put all of the decorations away. I think everyone here thought it was a bit early to be taking things down, but since we've been inside all week and it's been cold, it just seemed like a good time to do it and get it put away and out of the way and ready to start the new year with something else to do. We've enjoyed having Charlene and Marley and Gary here with us. It's been particularly fun to have a little baby in the house. Marley's a very good little girl. She sleeps very well at night, and I think that's a crucial thing. If we weren't able to get a good night's sleep, we'd have a very difficult time. But she does sleep for about 12 hours every night. She's gotten to the point where she's having a hard time settling down for naps during the daytime. She was at first having maybe 3 naps and then 2, and lately it's been just 1 nap a day. She knows enough to really fight it when she thinks you're going to be putting her down to sleep. But somehow in the evening, after she's had her bath, she just seems to be able to relax and go to sleep then and settle down for the night. I believe we told you either in the last letter or on the telephone that we got Stephen one of these video game sets television. I don't know what he did to finally convince us that he ought to have one. This one is called Sega Genesis. It's supposed to be better than the Nintendo. The sets themselves aren't that expensive, but I think where they make their money is in the games that go with the sets. Each game costs a substantial amount, and so if you get very many or get them very often, the cost can add up. I think that we felt like Stephen was alone so much of the time that it would be worthwhile for him to have something like that to play with. I would like to see him read more. He has come to enjoy reading a lot more this year than he ever did in the past, but he still needs to be encouraged to sit down and get out a book and read it. In school, they're required to read one book each week of the 9-week period. So that means they have a total of 9 books that they read. Now, of course, when there's a vacation like this time, they have more weeks and they have books required. Stephen was already ahead. He found a series of books called Goosebumps, which has horror stories that he enjoyed reading. And to me, I think they're a little bit gross, but he thinks they've been fun. Now he's talking about getting the book Dracula and trying to read it. I don't know if he could or not. He's quite interested in the fact that it was a Stoker that wrote that book Dracula, and I think that's one reason that he's thinking that maybe he'd like to read it. Also, there's a movie being made of Dracula nowadays. Gary has been working at a temporary job for the last 3 weeks or so, and it'll continue for a while longer. It's a job where they're entering data into a computer. It's a lot different than the truck driving that he's done, and they've given him some overtime, which he's appreciated. And it's also giving him a chance to work a little bit with computers and to improve his skills in that direction so that he can maybe take a typing or computer test, and I guess maybe it's a word processing test that they do now, to see if that will help in getting a permanent job. He'd like to get a job with the government or something like that, even if it's a beginning level job, even secretary type thing, just to get himself in the door and get started in something in the field of wildlife or ecology, or something that he could later work into a position that would correspond with his degree. Tomorrow we begin the new church schedule. We have sacrament meeting beginning at 2 p.m. I think that's my least favorite schedule of the day. It's so hard to get up and accomplish anything on Sunday morning when church doesn't begin until 2. It's too easy to sleep in and let the day just slip by. Tomorrow, though, I have to go to welfare meeting at 8:30 in the morning, and then we'll be having our Relief Society presidency meeting after that. So that's going to take up most of the morning. And by the time I come home and pick up the family, it'll be time to turn around and go back to the church. I don't know exactly what your dad's schedule will be at the church tomorrow. I think I told you that he has a new calling as financial clerk. As part of that, I think he will be involved in counting the tithing and other donations each Sunday and recording them, sending all the information to Salt Lake on the computer. So much is done nowadays with computers that it takes a while to learn all the ins and outs of what has to be done. I'm glad that Renee and Julie were both able to talk to you on the telephone. I think this has been a particularly difficult year for Renee, being the first time she's been so far from any of the family, both at Thanksgiving and Christmas. You know, she spent, I think, the last 5 Thanksgivings with Julie and her family. And this year she had to work Thanksgiving Day, and Dan's parents came up that day, but they went out to dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, and it didn't feel quite like Thanksgiving. I know for Christmas, Renee got 2 days off. She had Christmas Day off, and then Tuesday off. So she had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday off work. She worked on Friday, Christmas Eve, and then they drove down to Klamath Falls, where Dan's family lives, and then were able to spend Christmas Day with them. I'm sure she told you all about it on the telephone. Rachel had the chicken pox for Christmas, which canceled their plans for a trip to Southern California. We'll have to call them and find out whether Kelly has broken out with the chicken pox yet or not. She was exposed to them at the same time that Rachel was earlier. But they had expected to come down with them at least a week or 2 weeks before Rachel did. So Julie was disappointed that they had to cancel their trip down to Disneyland in California. Tomorrow I'll have to have Stephen play his saxophone for you, your saxophone for you. He's enjoyed very much playing it, I think, but he's the only saxophone or only individual studying saxophone in Germantown this year. The band teacher very much discouraged them from doing it. I think he wanted to spend less time at Germantown. He's there on Mondays and it's a short day, and he didn't want to take the time to have the saxophone separate. Stephen meets with the beginning clarinets, which of course is hard, and he doesn't really like the fact that he's the only one. He'd enjoy it a lot more, I'm sure, if there were several. But he is having fun with it, and he's sounding better all the time. He had a bad cold back before Christmas, and for about 2 weeks couldn't really breathe well enough to practice well. When he would start to wheeze and cough, it would be very difficult for him to play. It's amazing how much better he sounds when he's feeling well and when he has new reeds. That may have a lot to do with it. I went and bought him 5 new reeds. His others had become rather shredded in the first 2 months that he was playing the saxophone. Do you remember what that was like? How fast you used to go through the reeds? Kirk, as you know, Stephen has been playing the saxophone since the beginning of this school year. He'll now play for you some of the songs that they have been working on. First, he will play Good King Wenceslas. You just heard the Ode to Joy. Now Stephen will play Mary Had a Little Lamb. There's 2 different versions in 2 different keys. The next song will be Jingle Bells. Here's Jolly Old St. Nicholas. hot crossbones.
As you know, I got a Sega Genesis and I have 4 games for it. Jurassic Park, Sonic 2, Joe Montana Sports Stock 93, and Dracula. I can get really far in Jurassic Park. I can get to the T-Rex, but I don't know how to kill him. I also got a model called the SR-75 Penetrator. I put it together and I'm still trying to paint it. And I also got a Lego thing. It's called Spirius. It's a space one, and there's a new kind of Lego monorail out. It's a lot bigger than the one I have. I haven't seen it in stores, but I saw it in this magazine that came with the Spirius Lego one. Dad says it's gonna snow on Monday, and I'll be out for a while. I don't think we'll get any snow, but the snow that we've had, we haven't been able to make any snowballs. But yesterday and today we are able to, because the snow started to melt and you can make snowballs. And we made a snow fort yesterday, and it got wrecked by some kids that came by. And I got a bag of beef jerky for Christmas. It was really good, but it's all gone. And I also got this box of Starbursts. That's really has all these Starbursts in it. And I gave all the yellow ones to Mom.
Well, Kirk, this is Charlene. How are you doing? It's January 3rd, about 9 in the morning, and everybody's gone but me and Marley. Marley's asleep, so you may hear her in the background at some point, if you haven't already. Let's see, like I said, Stephen's back in school, Gary and Dad are back at work. Mom didn't have any substituting job today, so she's off at the grocery store, I think, or running some errands. Well, the snow is finally looking like it's starting to melt a little bit. I guess we technically had a white Christmas. It started snowing about 6 o'clock on Christmas Day, and enough accumulated that it was kind of white. And then we had another storm a little bit later that dumped several inches on it. So, enough that Dad stayed home one day and Gary stayed home part of the day. Anyway, it's nice. It's very cold here. But I guess it'll be cold there too eventually. So I guess you're gonna come home before the winter gets all the way done, aren't you? Well, I don't really know what to say to you, Kirk. But Mother said, "Come on in and talk to Kirk, Charlene," and showed me how to press the little buttons on the recorder. Gary says to tell you hi. He said hi in the background once, but not when I was talking last night when Stephen was playing his horn. He said hi in the background. I don't know if you picked it up or not. Anyway, we made some videotape, so when you get home, you'll be able to watch and see what happened. Stephen's sounding a lot better on the saxophone now than he did when I first got here 2 months ago. Much, much better, in fact. He's not nearly so squawky, though he's still fairly squawky, but he's much better than he was before. Now watch Stephen will play this tape and hear what I just said and be mad. Stephen's been playing Sega Genesis every day, all day. And it's interesting because all the boys in the neighborhood have showed up here quite frequently since Christmas. And I don't think I'd seen half of them once before. But they're all over here playing Sega Genesis. And also they're all outside playing in the snow. Actually, it's a pretty good time for snowstorms, considering it's Christmas vacation. But Stephen didn't have any boots, and you know how that goes. And the sled broke, and fucked up. But they still had a very good time. Well, I can't really think of anything else to say, but have a happy new year, Kirk. Mom's worried because she thinks you're depressed. So take care of yourself. Bye.
Hello, Kirk. You know who this is. Today is the 18th of January, and what a disaster we've had during the last few days. Perhaps the most critical thing that has occurred is the big earthquake in Los Angeles. It happened yesterday morning at 4:31 California time. It registered 6.6 on the Richter scale. It lasted about 30 seconds. It did tremendous damage. It was so significant that all the stations yesterday broadcast it all day long. That was the event of the day. And everybody was glued to the television stations. Of course, yesterday was holiday, Martin Luther King's birthday, so everybody was home. And of course, in Washington, we had a terrible icy snowstorm, which kept everybody home to watch television. We're sending you some newspaper clippings about the big earthquake in Los Angeles. We called Alice early in the morning before the telephone lines were jammed and learned that they were okay. And then we called Grandma Carlson also, and she's fine, no problems. But some parts of the city are in terrible disarray, and the freeways, several freeways are out of commission, will probably be out of commission for many, many, many months, if not up to a year. I'm sure this is going to cause tremendous discomfort in the city and so forth. And Los Angeles had lots of problems during the last few years with fires and unemployment, devastation, and other problems. So it was very interesting to watch yesterday the television broadcasts of the events. Perhaps you've already heard about them, but I think the Washington Post articles will give you a better update of what's going on. In Washington, it's been very, very cold. I envy the nice warm weather you're enjoying. I wish we had some of it. Today, I didn't go to work. I don't think anybody went to work. We had snow and ice and sleet and freezing rain last night, and the whole area is a sheet of ice. Nobody can go anywhere. It is so cold, and although the sun is outside, the sun is shining brightly. It glistens everything. There's ice on all the trees and shrubs on the deck. It's beautiful out there with the glistening ice, but it's going to be a very, very cold, below freezing for the next several days, and I don't know when we'll get back to work. But anyway, we didn't go to work today. The federal government declared a liberal leave. All the jurisdictions are encouraging people to stay home. All the schools were closed. All the universities and colleges are closed. Everything's coming to a standstill because of this icy conditions. Kirk, I think you should continue to check with the banks down there and see if you can't use your Cirrus card. From what we can check from here, the Cirrus network does have some facilities in Santiago. You'll just have to check around and see which ones. And when we find out which bank it is, I'll let you know. But as far as we know, you can still use your Cirrus card, but you're going to have to find out what bank or what network uses it. You better get you some clothes if you're looking like most missionaries who are getting towards the end of their missionary assignment. They look pretty ratty. You better keep yourself in a presentable mode as a missionary of the church and a representative of Christ. People look upon missionaries, the clergy, as being a little more set apart from the rest of the world, so you better keep that image in mind. It's much easier for you to buy clothes in Santiago because you know your size and so forth than it is for us to try and send them to you. So if you need some clothes, buy them. I'm sure by the time you come home next summer you'll need some clothes before you go to school. We went to Price Club the other day, and whenever we go there, Stephen insists on some jerky. So we buy 2 boxes or 2 packages, one for him and one for you. And we're going to have to send yours quickly because Stephen is very much likes jerky, and he's almost eaten his whole package already. So we're going to have to get it in the mail quickly before Stephen decides he can't wait to open your package. So we'll send you some jerky. Hopefully it'll come soon. Whenever we can get to the post office, we'll put it in the mail. We had a birthday celebration the other day, the 15th of January, and we went out and bought a new color television set for the master bedroom. You recall we had a black and white for many, many years. Well, we decided to upgrade, and we purchased a new color television called Symphonic brand. It's made in Malaysia, and it also has built into it a VCR, which Stephen is very excited about. So it's nice to have a color television. In fact, we had the cable company come and fix the cable situation. It wasn't working too well. It seemed that some of the wires had not been properly connected tightly so that the signal didn't always come in properly. So the cable company came and replaced the connector box and tightened the connections, and it works very, very nicely. In fact, it works so well that we're going to have them come back and do the same thing for the one downstairs, replace the connector box and fix the cables so that they fit better. We get a better picture that way. Tiger does not like this cold weather. He does not want to go outside. He likes to stay inside and sleep all day and all night. He is not an outside cat during the winter time. It's amazing. He likes to stay close to people. Even at night, he comes in and sleeps on the bed. He is a cat person, it seems, at least in the winter time.
Kirk, this is Thursday, January 20th, and the whole Washington, D.C. area is frozen solid. We have had a real cold spell. The government was canceled today. D.C., the mayor of Washington, D.C. declared an emergency situation in which she requested that all non-essential businesses and government operations be closed down for the day. So nothing functioned today, basically. The problem is that there's been such a cold spell for such an extended period of time in the whole northeastern United States that there's been a real drain on power. And each of the systems is using more power than they can produce. And so yesterday they had what they called a rolling blackout for half an hour at a time. They would shut off the power in different locations of the city. They decided that there was too big a chance that they'd have some major blackouts, and when we have had sub-zero temperatures, they felt like it was not advisable to run the risk of having long periods of blackout, so they declared this emergency. There's been no school all week, and I assume there'll be none tomorrow. Record low temperatures have been set in many cities throughout the United States. I believe last night it was 6 below here, and it hasn't gotten much above the single digits all day. They do expect a warming trend though, so hopefully things will get a little bit easier. One of the big problems in the neighborhoods is we had an ice storm, and everything was layered with 3 inches of ice. It's almost impossible to even walk out of your house and get to the road because of the ice. All of the steps, even the grass, is covered with this ice. The temperature at ground level was well below freezing, and the temperature at the level where the drops were forming was above freezing, so everything fell as rain and then hit and turned to ice immediately, and then the temperature dropped below 0, so nothing bad. Then today we've had about 3 inches of fresh snow have fallen on top of the ice. It makes it a little more traction actually, but the problem is there's ice under everything, and you expect to be able to walk, and if you're not very careful, it is still very, very slick and easy to fall. I think we're beginning to get a little bit stir-crazy staying in the house all the time. Yesterday the wind was high, and so the temperatures, the wind chill temperature made it about 40 below most of the day because of the high winds plus the cold temperatures. Now today there's been no wind, so it's been much better, and I actually got out and walked up to Frank's, the craft shop, and bought me some thread and things to do a stitchery project. I needed something to do in these cold winter days when we have to stay inside. Stephen's enjoyed playing his video game, and of course all the neighbor boys have been over, and they have beat a lot of the parts to this Jurassic Park video game. Stephen will have to tell you about it.
In Jurassic Park for Sega Genesis, there's 7 levels for Grant and 5 levels for the Raptor. The levels for the Grant is, the first one I don't know what the name is, the second one is the power station, third one is the river raft, fourth is the pumping station, fifth is the canyon, sixth is the volcano, and seventh is the visitor center. And at the end of Grant, you're flying this helicopter, and in the distance you can see this T-Rex roaring. And the levels for the Raptor, there's 5, and the first one, I don't know what the name is. The second one is the power station. Third one is a pumping station. The fourth one, I think, is volcano, and the fifth is the visitor center. And I got 4 games: Jurassic Park, Sonic 2, Dracula, and Jonathan Sports Stock 93. In Sonic 2 today, Brandon broke the record. He got to the 10th level, and there's 16 levels, and I only got to the 8th level. I don't know all the names for them, but the 10th level is really neat. I think you'd like it, because Tails is, you're flying this biplane, and Tails is the pilot, and you have to try and get all these rings. And on the hill that Mr. Jasper has, he's been sliding down it, just like running and jumping, and so he goes sliding down, and it's really fun. And over where there's like this pipe that comes out of the house, and then there's like heat that comes out, and then there's little water driplets, and then there's like a stalagmite that's being formed, only it's made out of water. If you're wondering how Tiger is, he's doing okay, and the only thing he does is just sleep.
Tiger would love to be outside. Actually, I think he's getting stir crazy too. It's so cold that he doesn't want to go out, and we have to push him out, and then he has to be back in within just a few minutes. We don't want him, afraid that he would really freeze if he were out for very long. He'll want to go out to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, say at 4 a.m., and so I have to get up and let him out, and then I have to stay awake for about 10 minutes and let him back in. He's a real problem, this animal. Stephen has him right here up by the thing now. He's trying to get him to meow for you.
He's worse than Marley.
Only he won't meow right now. Meow, cat. Let's Kirk know you're here. Did you hear the cat? I think we've been pestering him, trying to get him to meow for you, so you know he's still around. Well, this tape is soon coming to an end, so we want to say goodbye. Send us back a tape. We have taped on only one side of this one, so we'll rewind it, and it will be ready for you to start when you get it.